Hey, Walt here from WaltonPA.com as well as StogieReview.com with another Shooting the Breeze video. And the topic of this video is just my very first USPSA match. I had mentioned in a couple of videos leading up to this video that I intended on shooting my first match, and you know, things were getting closer, and well, I finally did it today. And so I'm really not quite sure where I'm going to start with this video, and quite frankly, I didn't realize how tired I was until I sat down in my office to have my victory cigar for shooting well and not shooting myself or anyone else, and not getting disqualified. So let's start at the beginning. So a few weeks ago, I was looking at shooting an IDPA match about an hour from home, and I sent an email to the match director, or yeah, I guess he's the match director or the event coordinator or something like that, just asking some technical questions, and I got an email response. All of my questions were answered politely and such, but I didn't get the warm and fuzzy welcome feeling that I had gotten from Topton before. Because back when I first bought my Smith & Wesson, my range gun, my M&P, I wanted to give USPSA shooting a try. I just never got around to it, as I mentioned in other videos. Well, back when I bought the gun, the match director there, Dean, was very welcoming, and he was just very friendly and more than willing to help a new shooter get into the sport. Well, I never did get into it, and then sometime later, when I was interested in getting into action shooting again, I looked into IDPA, and as I just said, I didn't get that warm and fuzzy feeling from the club, and they were an hour and 15 minutes away, and they wanted me to come down and watch and not participate. So, you know, I wasn't real crazy about the prospect of driving all the way down there just to watch a match. You know, in the back of my mind, I really wanted to give it a try. And then I went down to the handgunner in Topton to buy a mag pouch for whatever match I decided to compete in. And while I was there, I bumped into Dean again, and you know, it was that same very welcoming attitude that I had gotten the first time that I talked to him about USPSA shooting. So I told him I would definitely be there on the 17th, which is today. And a few weeks later, here we are. Now, this morning, I needed to be at the match around 9 a.m. or at the club around 9 a.m. so that I could undergo a safety check. So I get there at about 8:45, and Dean was busy setting up. So I just kind of walked around and just looked at the different stages, and then just hung out until the safety check time came around. Well, as it got later, Dean was still busy setting up, so he had another range officer do a safety check for me and 3 other guys that were there for their first time. One of the 5 guys, myself included, was just there shooting rimfire rifle, so he didn't need to go through the whole safety procedure. But the match was primarily, well, I guess it was primarily pistol shooters. However, you had the option to compete with rimfire rifle as well, and I'll talk more about that later. So after the safety check was over, I kind of I got stung a little bit for right off the bat for not so much a safety violation. Oh, it definitely was a safety issue, but it was pointed out to me right off the bat, and I started to worry. You know, is the day going to go completely downhill from here or what? But so the 5 of us go to the far pit, and he says, "Does anyone want to go first?" And you know, everyone's kind of hem-hawing around. So like, okay, I'll go first. And so he says, "Okay, bring your bag to the line, set your bag down, and then slowly take your pistol out. And you know, we're going to start from the very beginning." So I go up, I put my bag down, and I open the bag up, and I stick my hand in the bag. I grab a hold of my pistol, and as I'm starting to remove it, he says, "Stop." He says, "You know, what's wrong?" And I'm kind of drawing a blank. There's no magazine in it. My fingers against the slide, I don't know. Well, my bag was turned 90 degrees, so the barrel of my gun was pointing to the side wall, the side berm. But you know, he stopped me. He says, you know, the safe way to do it is turn the bag. So he turns the bag 90 degrees, and then we start over again. After that, I did really well with all the safety stuff. I had watched dozens and dozens of YouTube videos on USPSA shooting, so I had a basic understanding of what was going to happen. And in addition to that, I did a little impromptu USPSA IDPA range command session at Ole Valley Fish and Game with Sean, I believe his name was, which was very helpful as well. So I wasn't completely nerve-wracked when it was my time to go through the safety procedure. So I get through the safety procedure. I do pretty well. I mean, we're not shooting from very far, but we wound up firing 6 rounds total just to work through the procedure. You know, load and make ready, holster the gun, is the shooter ready, beep, draw the gun, start firing, then clear the gun, drop the hammer, or drop the slide, drop the hammer, and then reholster. And we did that series a couple of different ways. You know, I think we fired 2 shots, reholstered 2 shots, and then he mixed in a reload in there, so it was 2 shots, reload, 2 shots. Then we did that again, and then there were 2 shots and 2 shots from the surrender position. So so we get a little bit of shooting in there, and you know, again, we're not shooting from very far, but I'm doing pretty well. My shots are well placed. I'm happy with them, and you know, I'm feeling good. I'm shaking the nerves a little bit because initially I was pretty nervous going into this, especially since I didn't have a buddy to go with me. I was flying solo. So we go through the safety procedure. All the rest of the guys go through it as well, and then we go back around to where everyone is. And when we get back around, the place is packed. There's just a lot of people shooting. So everyone gets broken up into squads. Excuse me. And I wound up in squad 3. And I'm not what you would call a social butterfly. I'm you know, quiet, well reserved, despite watching me on YouTube here. I'm a pretty quiet individual, so I spent a lot of time just kind of sitting back and watching what was going on, so that you know, when it was my turn, I didn't screw up. But I did get to talking to one guy. I think his name was Ryan. I'm really not good with names. Who was extremely friendly, and he says, "Hey, I noticed you only have 1 mag pouch on your belt." He says, "You know, I shoot a CZ. I have an extra mag pouch. You know, if you're interested, we can see if it fits your mags. That way you can keep 4 on your belt instead of, you know, 2 on your belt and 2 in your pockets." I was like, "Oh, great, that would be fantastic," because I was paranoid that I was going to end up like reaching in my pocket to grab a magazine and then dumping the next one on the ground, because I was forced to put 2 in my pocket because I only had the 1 mag pouch. So so we gave it a try, and the magazines fit really well. So I got loaded up, and off we went. And I talked to a few more people there as well, who were all very nice, and was giving me some pointers along the way, and a lot of words of encouragement too. I really appreciated that. Ryan, who lent me the mag pouch, I think his name was Brian. I'm gonna feel terrible if his name's not Ryan, but he was pasting targets after my first stage, and he comes back and he said, "You know, you're shooting really accurate. You know, you had 2 A's here, and then further down you had another 2 A's and an A and a B." And I was really happy that I was shooting well, because once the buzzer goes off, you know, I'm moving so fast that I can't keep track of what I'm scoring as I'm moving. Even though I should be, it's really difficult to focus on everything that's going on and try to keep score in your head. But the first stage was did not start off really well, despite getting some decent hits that someone else mentioned. It was a giant T, so you start at a box all the way in the back, and I mentioned earlier that it was for a rimfire rifle as well. Well, a lot of the guys were saying that this stage was designed more for rimfire rifle because, I don't know, the guys were saying 60-70 yards out there's these steel plates that you have to hit, and there were 3 of them, and a lot of people were having trouble hitting them. I didn't have a whole lot of trouble hitting them. You know, I was shooting slow, focusing on what I was doing, and I hit the 3 plates within probably 6 shots overall. And then we move forward, and as you're going down that leg of the tee, or the straight line section, there's a couple of targets on the left and right behind a fence. So you've got 4 or 6 shots on each side. And then when you get down to the base of the tee, there's a lot of barrels set up and targets behind the barrels. And initially, my game plan was to hit the base of the tee, go left all the way into the far corner, because you needed to be in the extreme corner to hit the leftmost target that was tucked behind the barrel. And then I was going to work my way to the right. Well, when I got to the base of the tee, I see all these targets in front of me, and then I just dump my game plan, and I start firing, and then I move to the end of the tee, and I shoot the target at the end, and then I move to extreme right, I shoot the target there, and then it's like, okay, I'm done. And then I'm getting ready to, actually I dropped the mag, and before I was about to rack the slide, the range officer says, "You've got 2 more yet." And at this point, I've got, I hold the gun in a safe direction, I bend down, I grab the magazine, I slip it back into the gun, and instinctually I rack the slide. Well, when I racked the slide, I got a double feed, and it was just a mess. And at that point, he just says, "Well, you've got so many problems going on with the gun right now. Just just call it quits." So I dumped the mag. I clear both rounds out of the slide, because what would happen when I went to clear the double feed, I did the tap rack procedure, and all that did was dump 1 round and then inject a 2nd round into the chamber. So I still had a double feed. It wasn't like locked up really tight. I had a round in there sideways. So I get that all cleared out, and then I felt pretty bad because I missed 2 targets. But afterwards, again, Ryan came up and he was telling me that I shot pretty well. I was shooting accurately on the shots, and then the range officer was telling me, I did really well with the distance steel. He said, you were hitting those pretty good. And really, I was concerned about those a lot, because everyone was telling me, or everyone was talking amongst themselves, that those targets were designed for rimfire rifle, and no one really knew whether or not they were going to be able to easily hit them. And I was really happy with being able to pull it off without much difficulty. So from there, we moved on stage to stage to stage. I think there were 5 in all. And I got better as I went along. After that not so great ending to my first stage, I did pretty well on the next stage, and then pretty well on the stage after that. It wasn't until we worked around to stage 1, because we started on stage 3, that I started having problems, and I started missing targets. And by that time I was getting a little fatigued. And then on the last stage, there was a Texas Star set up with a no-shoot target at the base, and there was a lot of people that were complaining about it, saying that it's a rules violation. You can't have a no-shoot in front of a target that's going to stop moving. And what was happening was a lot of people weren't shooting the targets fast enough, and the last plate was stopped behind the no-shoot target. So there were procedural questions and stuff that came up, and or a lot of people weren't sure how do you address this. Is it do you make them reshoot? Do they have to shoot through the no-shoot target to claim that last target? How do you do this on a steel target? Do you mark it as a miss? So Ryan, he was telling me a lot about this Texas Star. When we first see it, he's telling me, okay, what you want to do is you want to shoot high, and that'll cause the Texas Star to rotate slowly. Basically, what it is, it's 5 points with metal discs on it, and when you hit the disc, it falls off, and then there's a counterbalance, and then this thing starts moving. He says, if you start shooting high, it'll start moving slow. And as we see people shooting, he says, these guys are shooting it out of sequence. I don't know why they're shooting the low plates first, because there's another squad that's getting ready to leave, and we're just kind of hanging out watching them shoot. And then you know, he moves around and he's watching them some more, and then he comes back and says, okay, now I know why they're shooting it out of sequence. You want to hit the bottom plate and really make this thing spin fast, because you need the momentum to keep it moving. Otherwise, before you know it, you're going to be on the last plate and it's going to be moving so slow that it's just going to stop behind the no shoot. He said, then you're going to run into problems. So he was giving me some pointers there. I wound up screwing it up, and I had the single plate that just hung there at behind the no shoot, and there was just nothing I could do about it. As I started getting tired toward the end, I was shooting a little too fast, and I wasn't focusing as much as I should have been on the front sight. I had a couple of misses here and there, but overall I was really happy with the way I shot. I learned a ton of stuff. First, which is probably most apparent watching this video, wear sunblock, because I am like roasted here. I walked through the door after the match, and my wife just looks at me and goes, I guess you forgot to take sunblock. I didn't realize I was going to be there for so long. I got there at around 8:45, and I'm getting in my car leaving at 2:30. I've been standing out in the sun all day. I didn't pack any sunscreen because I just thought, you know, get there at 9, get through the safety check, start shooting at 10 maybe, be home by noon. I wasn't expecting a really long day. But I got burnt on my arms, my face, my neck pretty good. Another thing that I learned was that my range bag, I just picked it up and went. Take all the crap out of it. You know, the ammo for my 22, the ammo for my 380, the ammo for my 40 Smith & Wesson. If I'm not shooting those guns, get that stuff out of the bag and just take ammunition for what I'm shooting and equipment for what I'm shooting. Otherwise, you end up lugging this extremely heavy bag around from stage to stage to stage. And also, when your bag is loaded up with all this crap that you have to carry around. By the way, I did see a lot of guys with like those jogging strollers, and they were throwing their stuff in the jogging stroller and carting it around. I even saw one guy with a wagon, and it was great. It just very thoughtful on how to get their heavy equipment from one stage to the next. But another advantage of taking all that stuff out of there and reducing weight is it gives you plenty of room to take some snacks, take extra drinks, and put some extra stuff in there. You know, sunblock, you know, wipes, things like that, Tylenol. The only thing I brought was my water bottle, and after 5 hours in the sun, I was feeling pretty parched, and I was starting to get a headache from all the noise. And generally, I usually have a pack of like ibuprofen or Tylenol in my pocket. I work in a manufacturing facility where we have first aid kits, and I work in the offices. The first aid kit is out in the shop. So when I go out there for whatever reason, if I need a pack of Tylenol or ibuprofen, I usually grab 2 packs, and on my way back in I stick 1 pack in my pocket. I always forget to take it out and sit it on my desk. So generally I always have like a pack of Tylenol or ibuprofen in my pocket. Knowing that I was going to be putting magazines in my pants pocket, I took all the extra crap out and tossed it on my end table, and I went shooting without it. So next time I'll be bringing something to snack on, because I didn't have lunch. I didn't have breakfast. I did have breakfast, but it was really light breakfast, and take an extra drink and stuff like that. So I think those are the most important things. Lighten up the pack and make plenty of room for snacks and drinks and just things to make you comfortable. Probably a first aid kit, which I still don't have and I should have. Wipes just for cleaning, sweat or whatever off myself. Sunblock, maybe aloe if I wind up like this again. And, just have a good time. And I really did have a very good time. Apparently there's a big sectional competition going on next month, so the club will not be doing a USPSA match next month, so I may go elsewhere because I really want to do this again next month. I'm going to keep looking for a buddy, but it doesn't look like I'm going to find one. I think I'm going to be going to these things solo for right now. But one of the interesting things was that when I was talking to Ryan, who I was talking to the most of all the people that were there, is when we got to that point where we were at stage 1 and people were at stage 2 because they were in kind of the same pit, he was pointing out people to me, and it sounds like it's there's a circle of people that travel around, and even Ryan. I really hope your name is Ryan if you're watching this, and because I'd really hate to get it wrong and keep repeating it. But he had mentioned that he had driven from Central Jersey, so it was like a 2-hour drive to get to Topton for him. And here I was like thinking that it was going to be locals, but you know, he got to telling me about different locations and things like that where good shooters were known to go, or strong shooters were known to frequent. You know, if I wanted to shoot with them and better myself and things like that. But I had a really good time, and who knows, maybe I'll see some of the same shooters elsewhere, because there are a couple of local clubs that do it. I may run down to Lower Providence to do an IDPA match, and there's also another one. I really can't think of the name of it. Onalonte or something like that. They're about an hour in the opposite direction as Lower Providence, so both clubs are about an hour away. And I think the other club does both USPSA and IDPA. I would like to give IDPA a try. However, since it's more geared towards defensive shooting, I kind of feel inclined to use my carry gun. I don't really want to have to shoot 250 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson because 9mm is so much cheaper. So I may take the M&P and put it in my holster and shoot it that way. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet. I do have a concealment holster for the M&P, so I probably could just use that without much issue, because the holster I have is a pancake holster, and it's going to require a big cover garment just because it sticks out a lot, and we'll go from there. But I had a blast, and would definitely recommend it. If you're kind of on the fence and you're not sure whether or not you want to go, definitely go, because you'll have a good time. And if you don't have anyone to go with, see if you can talk to the range officer. Send an email, make a phone call if they work at a gun shop, like my situation, and you go in there to buy something and you find out that they're a range officer or match director or whatever it is. Talk to them there, because you know, there were a lot of very generous people that were giving me advice and words of encouragement, and one that even lent me equipment. And you know, I had a really good time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again very soon. But I have to keep relighting my Victory cigar. My drink is sweating all over the place. I'm losing my voice, and I'm baking under these halogen lights. So I'm going to kill the camera, dim the lights, sip on some water, enjoy my Victory cigar, and probably play some music and just relax, because I don't know whether I said it in the beginning of the video or not, but I didn't realize how tired I was after, you know, all that time in the sun, until I sat down to have my cigar. So thank you for watching. If you're interested in commenting and all that other stuff, tell me about your first USPSA or IDPA or whatever action shooting you've done. Tell me about your first experience doing action shooting. And until next time, happy smoking, happy shooting, and I will catch you later.